She did? Well, she said just to talk about it.
Hey guys.
We have the Amish culture.
Did you know? So, fun fact about the Amish culture is that there are no mustaches. Even though we always picture them with facial hair, mustaches are not a thing.
So some orders are actually allowed to consume alcohol, even though I feel like a lot of us don't think that they do that.
Okay. A lot of Amish dolls and playing cards don't have people's faces on them because they really frown on vanity. So they go with a lot of faceless dolls to play with.
Which are super
Creepy.
Men do not have facial hair until after they're married and baptized, and then the men are allowed to grow their beards, but no
A
mustache.
rite of passage. Women have to make their own wedding dresses, and they're supposed to be blue. Which is interesting.
And then also after they have their wedding dresses and they make them, they wear them like on certain Sundays to services.
And they're buried in them as well.
Yeah.
Buried in them. If they still fit in them.
If they still fit.
So the language spoken in most of the orders of the Amish is Pennsylvania Dutch, which is actually a dialect of German. And so they actually learn this language first, and in first grade is when they learn the English language. Okay, so Amish are usually found, or they're found in 28 states in America, but they're usually found in Ohio and Pennsylvania. And they generally wear conservative clothing, so they wear a lot of dark colors. They only wear the most basic type of garments. It's usually really simple, and they usually make their clothing at home. So men usually wear straight cuts suits and clothes without collars, lapels, and pockets. And women, men, I forgot the bullet point. So yeah, like Delaney said, men only grow out beards after they are married and baptized. And women wear solid colored dresses with long sleeves and a full skirt. They can wear a bonnet and a cap if they want to. And usually like their length of skirts is dictated by each order of the Amish. So it could vary from Amish order to Amish order. Okay, Rumspringa. So it's a tradition known as running around. And so when the Amish youth are ages from 16 to 21, they can go out into the world and do things that like other Americans do, or American teenagers do, such as owning a car or partying. So basically the reason for this is that after this period of running around, they come back and they decide if they want to join the church or not. And what happens in most cases is that they realize that the world, like the real world, is more scary than they thought it was, and they don't really have the support of their parents or the community of the Amish. So most actually do return back to the Amish culture. And if they decide to leave, that's okay, they're not shunned. But if they decide to join the Amish order and they leave later, then that's when they're shunned usually. So we have a short video about that.
Amish as you've never seen them before. Young people given the opportunity to break away from their traditional way of life for a turn in the outside world.
Yeah, we're talking about the Amish rite of passage known as Rumspringa, when young men and women are allowed to embrace everything that is forbidden in their culture, including alcohol, cigarettes, and now the internet.
The notion of teenagers posting party pictures and snapping selfies is certainly not new, but these teenagers, whose faces were obscuring for privacy reasons,
party somewhere, and they all get together, hundreds of them at one place, and that's pretty much how they socialize with each other. Facebook is some of it, but they still, weekends, it's parties everywhere.
Chris Weber works with a group that counsels Amish teens on drug and alcohol abuse. The trick is, with the Amish, they do everything in large social circles. So what you get is, you're not going to have 5 kids sitting in a bedroom drinking beer and watching a DVD. You're going to have 50 kids in the shop playing beer pong, because that's the size of their social circle. After Roseboro, most Amish teenagers rejoin the community, but they also try to incorporate some of the modern technology they've encountered on the outside without violating their beliefs. In the past, for example, they've hired non-Amish people to drive cars for them, or they've put up phone booths outside of their homes. It will be fascinating to see what impact Facebook has on the future of this faith.
Such an interesting part of their culture, and as the writer
Something that's kind of interesting, I thought, from an occupational therapy standpoint, is that a lot of the kids, you're kind of guided on what occupations you do just because you're within this culture, and so this is kind of a chance for them to go out and see what else there is in the world. But like Emily mentioned, a lot of times it's, they don't have the social support, and they're kind of realizing, oh, there's way too much to choose from, and it's kind of like overload. So instead of like finding other things that are meaningful to them, they tend to go back towards what they were brought up believing is being meaningful.
So for traditions and beliefs, so their faith is their number one priority. So their specific religion is Anabaptist Christians, and their faith is the foundation for many of their customs and traditions. So one example is that they take commands in the Bible to separate themselves from worldly things very seriously, which is why they don't have technology. And they follow the Ordnung, which is a set of rules that are based on scripture. And this is, the Ordnung is actually voted annually by each congregation. So there's a few small things like the length of a skirt or specific technology uses that can vary from order to order. So they are only in school until the 8th grade. And after they finish their education, boys usually work.
Can I interrupt for a minute? So the word is Ordnung.
Ordnung. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'm not
I thought we were saying ordinance, but then I realized this, but yeah, no, that's
okay. So after they finish their education, boys usually work on the farm, or they become an apprentice for business and shops around their community. Girls either learn like housework, like house chores, or they obtain a temporary job until they become a mother and they go back to their house chores. So family is their most important social unit. It's considered their second most important thing after their faith. So they usually have really large families, like 6 to 10 children is usually the norm. And their chores are divided by gender roles. So like I said up there, boys usually do farming, do the outside work, and girls usually stay home and raise the children and do cooking and cleaning and things like that. So for family, they're only allowed to marry within their religion. So Amish only marry Amish, and divorce is not allowed at all. So for technology, they are typically averse to technology. They kind of believe that it weakens the family structure if they use it. And so they live without electricity. They use horse-drawn machinery, and they usually travel in horse-drawn buggies. But like the video, or like we saw in the video, and I think what Jenna mentioned, is that what I mentioned. Sorry, I'm nervous. Is that technology can vary from orders to orders, and so some of them might use cars like drivers. And it's actually common to use telephones in their community, but just not in the actual home. And it goes back to that fact that they believe that it weakens their family structure. So for medicine, they do use modern medicine, but they usually don't turn to it. They turn to homeopathic medicine, which is like homegrown remedies. So it could be folk medicine, herbal teas, reflexology. And they also don't turn to modern medicine usually because of their lack of health insurance. And also it kind of ties back to their belief of like a strong community. They'll try to turn to their faith, like God, or they try to turn to each other first before asking help from outsiders. So for holidays, they observe most religious holidays, so Christmas, Easter, Good Friday, and during the observation, they usually fast and meditate on scriptures that apply to those holidays. They don't really celebrate any patriotic holidays or holidays about a person like Martin Luther King. They do celebrate birthdays, but they're usually really mild, so it'll just be like a cake and a few presents. And some of the occupations they engage in, so for leisure, they do a lot of outdoor activities, so hunting, camping, and sports. They really like volleyball. We found that super interesting. They visit and write letters to other Amish in their community, and so visiting is actually their #1 leisure because it's seen as strengthening their community. They do play board games like Scrabble and card games, and they participate in auctions because it's seen as like a way to give to a good cause, and it's a way to get a good deal sometimes if you're lucky. And it's seen as like a social thing for strengthening the community as well. And since all of those are really social activities, they also have a lot of solo hobbies, so they'll read and they sew by themselves.
As far as occupations go, like Emily mentioned, for men, farming, harvesting are one of the main priorities that they do, but they'll also do carpentry and blacksmith because they build their homes, they build their churches, their schools, any buildings in the community, and as well as their buggies and such. And then young boys will help take care of the farm animals and everything like that, and it's kind of a rite of passage to then take on their father's role. As far as women, their primary role is to take care of their home and family. Motherhood is like pretty much your primary role. But they will do make handmade things like quilts and soaps and stuff like that that they can make with the resources that they have to sell in the markets, which they will sell to like tourists. So they use the same like economy currency as we do. And then surprisingly, I didn't realize this, but they will be allowed to have some jobs like outside, but they're still typically kind of centered around cleaning and cooking and things like that. So one of the things that we found was like a woman that would like clean hotel rooms in a local hotel. So she's still doing cleaning as like an occupation, but she could do like in the outside world. And this is a video about a woman named Barbie from the Breaking Amish show that talks a little bit more about the roles in the house. And this is the commercial about the car.
Fun fact about their buggies though, they can be like really tricked out.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
They'll like have like
Surprising.
lights on them and horns and stuff, and
Right.
so a lot of like the younger men work on that.
Disclaimer for all the videos, probably the people that are in these videos are not like very strict about being in their community. I mean, they're still practicing, but like if they're agreeing to have a camera on them and such, they're probably not as strict as like a lot of orders probably aren't allowed at all. So.
I'm Barbie, I'm 22. I'm from Upperville, Kentucky, and I'm Amish. We do have a lot of chores: washing clothes, sewing, baking, ironing. There's always work to do. This is a cast iron. A lot of the Amish don't have electricity, so this is usually what we use. We usually heat it up on the stoves, get it nice and hot, and we're good to go. But as a preacher, being a preacher's daughter, it's a lot of pressure. Because I know that everybody's watching me. I just can't be myself. Like, I gotta be what they want me to be. My family moved to Murfreesboro because it's one of the strictest Amish communities in the country. They tell me what to eat, they tell me what to wear, they tell me what to do, they tell me what questions not to ask, they tell me what I need to ask. It's just so controlling. We're not allowed to date until we join church because we're supposed to commit our love to God before anyone else. I'm 22 and I'm just not ready to join church. I don't think they should be allowed to tell me when I should date or when I can't date. I should be able to make those choices on my own and follow my own heart.
She's a rebel.
Yeah.
So you can see in that video like the day-to-day life, the lack of technology,
Mhm.
and how a lot of younger people in the community are like in their own way wanting to rebel from all the control.
I'm sorry, I don't know why it keeps exiting out where we're at. Amish breakfast goes for everyone.
We'll do.
So this is a traditional Amish breakfast. A lot of their food items are like flour and I'll do it. They're just like a muffin, but Amish. The Amish grow and make almost everything they eat. They will buy what they cannot make themselves, but they process everything by hand because they can't use modern technology. So they spend numerous hours of the day in manual labor tending large crops and farms. And they aren't concerned about the amount of fat or calories in their food, hence the very sugary muffins. Diets don't count today. They will sell most of their food to the outside world to supplement the community's earnings. And I've actually been to an Amish market, and it was very good. And while you enjoy your food. Oh my gosh. Oh, I ruined it. I think y'all have probably heard this song.
We won't listen to the whole thing, but it's pretty funny.
And then you want to increase the whole screen.
Oh, we were just gonna have you listen to it. The video could be a little offensive. It's like a parody.
Y'all can watch it later.
See how like the Amish culture has influenced media and like
Yeah.
in this case Weird Al.
I don't know why X is out of it. Yeah. That was Amish Paradise, if y'all would like to enjoy it later. So we did our occupational profile over Arnie. He's an 18-year-old boy with an autism spectrum disorder. He lives with his brother Gilbert, two sisters, Amy and Ellen, and his mother. Their father committed suicide in their home when Arnie was younger. He lives in a small town where everybody knows who he is and everybody knows everybody. The people of the town don't always understand Arnie's diagnosis and kind of think of him sometimes as a pest. They don't really know how to communicate and interact with him. Arnie is very close to his brother Gilbert, and he accompanies Gilbert to Gilbert's work and to run errands with the family. Gilbert is Arnie's main caretaker, and Arnie considers him his best friend. Arnie's very dependent on his family to do everything, and they don't necessarily make Arnie do anything. They make his meals for him, and they help him bathe. One time, Gilbert tried to get Arnie to bathe himself, and as y'all saw, he spent the night in the bathtub because he didn't know what to do next. He will have yelling outbursts and will tend to repeat back what others are saying to him and constantly repeat it. Arnie has very slow learning capabilities.
Can I interrupt right there?
Yeah.
So this repetition, you'll know what the word is for that repetition?
For separation.
It's for separation. I just want to make sure,
Separation.
when it comes to documentation.
He has underdeveloped language skills and speaks at a very slow pace. He doesn't understand different emotions and will laugh at inappropriate times, like y'all saw when they were talking about his father's death. He has a tendency to want to do dangerous things, like he climbs the water tower and the police has to come and get him down. Gilbert's the only way that can get him down by singing to him or talking him out of it. Arnie really enjoys playing games with his siblings, like he hides and they try to come and fight. Try to find him.
He does it.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
And just to emphasize what Delaney said about Arnie is that his family does everything for him. So he may be physically capable of doing stuff, but he is just not challenged. And so he currently doesn't recognize the different social cues of other people, and he'll tend to say and repeat inappropriate things, like Delaney mentioned about his father committing suicide in their home. And he doesn't recognize any safety hazards or like what may pose a danger to him. So he has dangerous habits like climbing the water tower in the movie, or on his little future Amish farm, climbing the tree outside his house.
So as far as similarities between the Amish culture and the Great Family, like Emily had mentioned, the family and that family structure is like the most important social structure. And in the Great Family, we saw a lot of, they all came home and they were expected to be together for meal times, and everything was centered around being with their mama and taking care of each other. And then Amish communities are fairly small, and they thrive in like small, tight-knit communities. And the town that they lived in the movie of Endora was also a very small town, and so it's common that everybody knew everyone, everybody kind of knew everyone's business, and so that's something that they kind of had in common. And on that note, with it being a small town like that, there's kind of a sense of like small-mindedness, which we saw in the movie. People weren't very understanding of the mother's obesity and of the family situation, as well as of Arnie's disability. And then, I don't think I said all that. And so with that, also in a small town nature, there's not as many available resources. So with Arnie, there wouldn't be, OT and PT and things like that to help work with him. And that was also something that you would see in an Amish community. With traditional medicine, you wouldn't have those like therapeutic practices as often. So that's something that might be difficult for him.
So the frame of reference we chose is the task-oriented approach. And so like how we said earlier, that Arnie's family does everything for him. He has Gilbert currently doing his BADLs, and so we really need to work on bathing with Arnie specifically. And like before, it's causing like a lot of stress on Gilbert and the rest of the family members to constantly take care of someone.
So as far as occupational synthesis, the activity that we are going to be covering is bathing. Like y'all saw in the movie, that was a big issue. And so to enhance this self-care skill for Arnie, we want to work through the process skills that are required to bathe, but we're going to do that with the Amish community presence of helping bathe the animals on the farm and helping with those type of skills, because we're mainly going to be working on processing skills for him, because he has the physical capability to bathe himself. We just don't know if he knows how to. And so these are kind of all the process skills. We're going to mainly focus on sequencing, but he would be doing choosing, gathering, attending, pacing, handling, initiating, and terminating the activity. And so working through these process skills of bathing the animals will, as we go through them in the different ways that we help him work through that, we'd hope that he would adopt these on himself. And so we would have him be able to verbalize the steps of doing that with the animals, and then kind of the next step would be verbalizing the steps with himself. We would kind of give him, and we're going to touch on this in the next slide, but work through having the visual of doing the skills and then without the visual cues. And then we'll know that occupational synthesis has been achieved when he can actually transfer those skills and do the action of bathing independently.
So the goal is that in 1 month, Arnie will correctly sequence with visual cue cards of the steps of how to bathe in 3 minutes without any sort of cueing. So to start grading that down, like the very basics, so we'll give him a visual, yes?
Can I interrupt it? So when you're talking about bathing, you're talking about bathing animals there, right? Or would that be?
Well, yes. So, we kind of have to adopt the goal, but he would start with the animals, and then we would, to keep grading up, we would move it to himself. So we would, visual to how to bathe the animal, and then verbalize how to bathe the animal, and then bathing the animal, and then visual for yourself.
Yes. So, starting grading down, we'll give him a visual list of cues, pictures of what to do and how to do it, and he'll be able to, like Jenna said, be able to verbalize those. And then to grade it up, we'll give him a mixed order of visual cue cards, and so he'll have to realize what steps constitute the action of bathing. And so then he'll be able to eventually recognize that and transfer all the skills onto himself.
I would not be allowed to do this. Sorry.
Who's that?
So, when do men grow their mustaches?
Never.
Trick question! They don't. They don't. What color are the women's wedding dresses?
Blue.
Good job. What language do most Amish speak?
Pennsylvania Dutch.
Wrong.
Something like
It's a dialect of German. Pennsylvania Dutch. What is it called when Amish adolescents go off to run around? Bet you won't forget that one. And at what grade do the Amish stop going to school?
8th grade.
Y'all listen.
100.
Good job.
100. And this is our Amish proverb. Greet the dawn with enthusiasm, and you may expect satisfaction at sunset. We should all live by this proverb.
Waking up
It's
at
very
1
good.
a.m.
It's a great proverb.
Yes.
It was her.
Okay.
Yay. Questions?
So, yeah, go ahead.
Courtney.
Do you know how long Rumspringa, like, is it a set period of time? Or
It's
is
when
it just
they're at
random?
ages 16 to 21, so I'm just assuming that when they're 21,
Yeah.
they have
It's
to
just
go.
kind
Well,
of
you mean like length of time, like how long?
Like,
Yeah,
did
they're
they
out
go
for.
a year or
Yeah.
yeah.
We couldn't
That's
really-
what
Yeah.
they just said.
I
is
think
that
it's just until they're 21 anytime. That's what we got.
like
So
some
they have to
people-
decide before.
I mean, it's the whole point of it is for them to decide to come back to the
Yeah.
community and show their loyalty. So it's just like, you know, some people could take a couple of years, and or some people could
Did they
get
give them
freaked out. And
any
decide.
kind of resources or preparation? Like, here we're gonna set you up with a job,
I'm not sure,
or
but
here's
I
some
don't-
living money, or is it just like
Yeah.
I don't
I think it's
so.
just kind of a
that's
here's
the
the
scare
real
factor.
world. Have fun.
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah, and
yeah,
it's-
the shock factor that.
Because the purpose is for them to make like an informed decision, so I think they can take as long as they want. But yeah.
Yeah, it's not like a I'm gonna give you everything you need. It's kind of like a see you later. So, scare them back home.
You talked about how, like, you vaguely mentioned that they don't like vanity, and so do they, like, not have mirrors and, like, no makeup or anything like that?
I know they don't wear makeup.
No makeup, yeah.
I'm not sure about the mirrors. So.
I had kind of been looking into that, and it's because like in the video that I watched about the girl who helps like clean the not apartments, hotel rooms and stuff. Like I kind of noticed her like looking in the mirror, and I was like, I wonder. And I think that in most of the pictures we saw of like houses and stuff, you didn't see a lot of mirrors. So I mean that is kind of something that you shouldn't be focused on yourself and your appearance. So I was assuming like the stricter orders, yes. But then in some of them, or no, I should say, but then in some of them, like they could have cell phones and stuff,
Yeah.
so then you could see yourself
Like
in
in
the picture.
the,
So it kind of depends, I think, on the strictness of the order. But I would imagine the really, you know,
like the
restricted ones
Amish
are.
market that I've been to in Maryland, they, like the younger people working there, like we saw them with their phones out. So I don't know if it's necessarily like a, when you're out of the community, that's kind of what I got from it, just from reading, so.
And like your individuality of playing musically, you can't play instruments.
Yeah.
It's vain to like express your individual creativity, not for the whole band.
You're supposed to be very plain. Yes. Amish period.
Yes.
Question. Did you see anything about like the Amish in Texas at all?
I didn't.
I didn't.
It was more northern,
Yeah.
is kind of what I got
Like
from
Kentucky
it.
or
Yeah.
I know in Fredericksburg they have like an Amish store,
Really?
which is
Yeah.
really cool. I actually
The
like
Amish-
bread and butter pickles.
Yeah. Well, and there's like that Amish woodworking. They make like really beautiful
Yeah.
Oh,
wooden
yeah.
furniture and stuff, and those are kind of. I think they have like a national. I've seen like the Amish furniture, and it's like the same in multiple states. that
They're
I've seen.
heavy.
Yeah.
It's
They're
like real wood.
real
I have
wood.
a
They're
friend
really
who has a
nice.
king size
Yeah.
bed frame.
We have a
from
table
Amish
that's
store.
Amish
Mhm.
in our kitchen.
What is another community besides the Amish that are just like the Amish that came from Germany?
Mennonites. They
Oh.
do not like to be called
They don't.
Mennonites. That's like offensive
It's
Well, we
to.
have a lot of Mennonites here in Texas.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
And some time ago when I was in Belize, I saw Mennonites in Belize as well.
Mhm.
But the
They're not the
Mennonites have
same.
moved around, when they were persecuted here in the US, they moved on into South America and Belize, so yeah.
Yeah, I think I read something really briefly how like Amish kind of derived a lot of their customs from the Mennonites, but there are a few things that they're really distinct in.
If you call them a Mennonite, they won't like it.
No, they do not like.
Yeah, they don't like being associated with them.
And that's good to know for us, because, you know, sometimes the way they dress, they
It's
you
very
know,
similar,
yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
I think
There's
it's
a lot of
more
Mm-hmm.
like
similarities.
their beliefs that they're
Yeah.
distinct, so it's hard to tell apart. I think if you just look
And
at them.
actually, I don't think Mennonites have Rumspringa. I think that's the Amish culture.
They don't have one.
Rumspringa, I don't think that's part of the Mennonite culture.
Isn't there also German Baptists who dress like the Amish, but they're not? They're also not Amish.
I'm not sure.
I guess I know some.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So you said they couldn't grow facial hair until after they were baptized? When are they normally baptized?
They're baptized when they're married.
Yeah.
That they kind of go.
It's
there.
usually when they come back from Rumspringa. It's
Yeah.
when they get married and all back, like once they're married, they're baptized or baptized and married, like all within kind of the same time period. And that's, so if you see like an Amish man with a beard, he's most likely married and baptized.
So what are their beliefs like if they died before they were baptized?
Didn't see anything specifically about that. I'd imagine it's kind of something similar to like the Mormon culture, like they would make an exception for something like that.
We didn't really see anything about their beliefs about the afterlife or anything like that, so that's a good thing to know that. Yeah.
Did y'all read anything about how big the typical communities are? Like, small. Is it 100 people or smaller?
I'm pretty sure it's probably not more than 200, maybe.
Yeah,
I think
they're like
villages are
village
pretty
size
small,
kind of thing.
Because they all know everybody and they all help each other out.
But it is interesting. They're talking about how like in their cities, even like the farmlands of like Ohio and stuff, you know, the cities are moving out, and so you'll see like a big Amish community, and then there's just cars driving right by it. So it's not that they can't like completely be closed off from, modern day Western society and things like that. They just have to kind of learn to like keep them separate from their practices and stuff.
And how Emily was talking about the Ordinance and how they kind of change it every once in a while. I'm sure that's kind of what it has to do with, is adding certain things and stuff like that.
I definitely like the way you incorporated the task-oriented approach. I think, the biomechanical frame of reference is good, what the groups say, but it's very straightforward. The task-oriented approach is harder to incorporate and to use, especially for beginners. But I think that's a very nice way of showing how the task-oriented approach can be used. And so for the class and for me also, I think that's a good example that I can take forward, or even share with the other classes on how to use the task-oriented approach. Okay, so if you'll have the time, go back and go back. And the other two groups are great too.
Yes.
But the reason I'm emphasizing this is because the task-oriented approach is hard to use for beginners. But this slide gives you a good idea of how to incorporate the task-oriented approach into practice. Okay?
Thank you.